What's up everybody? Today we're doing a biomechanics video. We're gonna talk about something called gait. And gait analyses are something I used to do all the time when I was working in sports medicine, but because I've been a teacher for so long now, I haven't actually done one in a while.
So I decided I actually wanted to bring a little bit of help in on this one.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Come in.
So I recruited my fabulous friend, Maren.
It's so good to be here. I'm so excited, Pat.
Because she is a YouTuber, she is a runner in her own right, something that I will never want to do.
It's fun.
And, you know, done the personal trainer thing.
You know.
So, what do we need to know about this?
Well, there's a lot to cover, including all of the musculoskeletal anatomy and the normal gait cycle. Lots of info, which we're gonna get into, but we're gonna start with the big picture, which Pat always does, which is the fact that to get anywhere, we all have to take multiple steps.
Cool. All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
If you do anything thousands and thousands of times a day, a pattern starts to emerge. And as it turns out, all healthy, able-bodied humans follow almost exactly the same pattern for walking. And we care so much because walking is so crucial to our independence. So when something goes wrong with walking, we want to know exactly where things are going wrong.
And if someone isn't walking correctly or maybe is running with poor form, they can end up with injuries. And this is kind of the exercise equivalent of something like desk ergonomics. We're taking an activity that you do for big chunks of the day and making sure it's not gonna hurt you. While we're not gonna talk about it in this video, your footwear actually plays a role in how you walk, which I made a video all about. So if you wanna learn more about that, then click on this icon over here.
So let's get right into the normal gait cycle. It may seem like unnecessary detail to get into, but we're going into such depth here because small tweaks repeated hundreds of thousands of times can rear their ugly heads hard. One full gait cycle starts when the heel of one foot strikes the ground, and it ends when that same heel strikes again. That might be counterintuitive because that gait cycle includes 2 steps, but that's how people walk. They don't take a step with their left foot, then take another step with their left foot.
Okay, we can divide gait into 2 main phases, the stance phase and the swing phase. And to do that, we need to choose one foot to be the star of the show, so let's choose the left foot. And that's what we refer to as either standing or swinging. Like we said earlier, the stance phase starts when that heel strikes the ground, and throughout this time, the foot is going to be the weight-bearing one, while the other foot is swinging. Stance phase can be further divided into 3 periods that focus on what part of the foot is in touch with the ground. And we start stance phase with the contact period, which is when your heel contacts the ground. Once again, great naming by kinesiologists. That's followed by mid-stance, where your heel and forefoot are on the ground, and then the propulsive period, where you've transferred your weight onto your forefoot and you're barely putting any weight on the left foot anymore. At this point, your other heel has touched the ground and is starting its stance phase. This means your left foot is off the ground, ready to swing forward and keep you moving.
This one can be divided further also, but we generally give this one less attention since the foot isn't weight-bearing, so it's less likely to be the cause of pain. One thing that is interesting is that when the foot is swinging forward, most people only have about 1 centimeter of clearance or so between them and the ground. So if you scuff your foot every now and then, don't worry about it. There's not much wiggle room to start with. Now, this whole process takes anywhere from 0.98 seconds to 1.07 seconds on average, but a lot can change that. Things like stride length and age, how competitive of a walker you are can all impact gait speed. But in general, the whole thing takes about a second. It makes sense that we focus on the lower body when looking at gait, but clearly other joints move too. Your arms swing, your head bobs up and down, and everyone sways side to side at least a little bit. And we're not even getting into pronation and supination. Believe me, once you learn that stuff, you'll never be able to watch people walk in flip-flops the same again.
Apart from anatomical similarities, everyone follows a predictable physics pattern too, what we call ground reactive forces. Like, remember that whole equal and opposite reaction law from physics? Well, as you strike the ground with your foot, the ground pushes back on you. And a graph of that force looks a little something like this. Ground forces are highest when you first land on your heel, and then go down a little in mid-stance when you spread your weight between your fore and hind foot, then increases again as you roll onto your forefoot. Then when you lift your foot off the ground, the force goes down to 0 since, it's not on the ground.
Now, all of that, the stance and swing phase, the ground reactive forces, that all describes your gait 99+% of the time. When we transition from normal gait to abnormal gait is when it's multiplied by tens of thousands of steps per week forever and ever. A limp because you stubbed your toe? Not really an abnormal gait. Even after breaking your leg and spending some time on crutches and returning to normal walking, you can probably return to a normal gait. So most of the time in young, otherwise healthy people, any abnormal gait is short-lived. These gaits become an issue when they either lend themselves to greater injury like a fall, or when they're the result of an underlying problem like the Parkinson's gait. What makes a lot of these abnormal gaits so unique is that every aspect of the nervous system is involved, both sensory and motor. While there are a ton of different gaits that we could go through, I picked 2 that represent different causes of abnormal gait. One muscular and one neurological.
There's a pattern called the Trendelenberg Gait, and it looks like this, kind of clunky, side-to-side sway that comes down to a weakness in the gluteus medius muscle, one of the muscles on the side of your hip. You can actually feel it contract if you put your hand on your hip, side, butt area and swing your leg out to the side. But the glute medius matters during this gait because it keeps your hips level while you walk. So if someone has a very weak glute medius for whatever reason, it won't support their body weight while they're in stance phase, and the other hip will drop down. Quick example, if it's the right side that's weak when they stand entirely on their right foot, their left hip will drop. And as they're walking, their hips will drop with each step, making it look a little like a sway.
Now, while this gait is ultimately due to weak musculature, remember that all kinds of things can influence even that, from neurological issues to muscle imbalances. But some abnormal gaits are entirely due to neurologic conditions. Like if you know anyone with Parkinson's, you know just how badly the brain affects their ability to control movements. But we would be colossal jerks if we acted that one out on camera, so we're gonna choose something else. Something you might see this weekend if you go to the right bar. Ataxic gait results from the loss of motor control. That could mean from alcohol or from different places in your nervous system that affect balance. For instance, someone could have sensory ataxia because of a lack of bodily awareness somewhere. Say they lost sensation in their leg, for instance, kind of like when you've been sitting crisscross applesauce for too long and you can't feel your feet. Your stance gets wider, slower, and relies on your other sensory inputs that still work well. So to assess this kind of gait, you'll make your observations and usually test balance with things like single leg stance or tandem walking, literally heel toe, one foot in front of the other. So that's an extremely simplistic way of looking at gait. And if you're gonna go and dedicate years of study to this, you're gonna have to learn how to study these things. And we actually did a video on Maren's channel about how to study.
All about studying, so if you've ever found yourself in an exam situation and been like, holy crap, how did I not study the right stuff? How could I have prepared for this better? Then I think our video that we made together over on my channel might be really helpful.
We'll link it at the end of this one. It'll be down in the description. Everybody, have fun, be good. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Nice to meet you.